Hey everybody! We're back! At long last, we have reached episode 5 of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles 2 Resolve # Lawyer. Nice handwriting. Oh, okay. No cutscene to bring us into it. I guess we're just right back into it. As you may recall, the last episode ended without us actually solving the case. So I guess the game designers decided to go, well, if you thought episode 5 of the last game was too long, we'll just give you a long case but split it up. Oh, that's right. Only the title screen. I feel bad now. There you go. You literally missed nothing if it makes you feel better. It's just a good-looking title screen, okay? I guess then it's a good thing they didn't have a cutscene, because then I would have been too busy watching it to notice that you guys were not seeing anything. But like I said, you missed nothing. Alright, sorry. Had an itch there. So the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I have a feeling if you took a shot every time that a line like that was said in this game, you'd die of alcohol poisoning. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Miss Susato. Sorry, what? Miss Susato? Oh! What? Oh no, what's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? You threw me on the floor! Nothing? I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but... I'm so sorry, of course, I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but... I shan't let you down. You already did. You already did. You threw me to the ground. You threw me down. Would you mind helping me to my feet, then? Oh dear, I'm really very sorry. She's not. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective. Oh yeah, by the way, that was also dropped. The little tidbit of information. Where I got my best screenshot of the game, because I doubt anything like that's going to happen this episode. Knock on wood. Not to mention... Oh, good morning, sir! Huh? Oh, you. Lord Van Zykes. Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. What? Did I hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says, I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. Okay. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zykes isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. The Reaper? I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? With my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym, I failed to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zykes. It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod, to wield an undeadly blade of justice, where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. We have? Wait, when did that one come about? I don't remember it. Then I lost him. I felt as though I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you, Lord Clint Van Zykes. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I don't really care about your dead brother. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. But I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. You only have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt for some fucking reason. Yeah, welcome to Ace Attorney, where the burden of proof is flipped and the laws don't matter. I'd never thought I'd say this. But I can see it in your eyes, that burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? Oh, Iris! When did you get here? Oh! I brought you one of my special blends! Early loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head. I thank you. This is not my hallowed wine in my hallowed chalice, but I shall accept it nevertheless and throw it into the gallery. Oh, hee hee. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris. Oh? Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not! What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Sai's laboratory. Alright then, good luck to you both! I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you wanted to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready for what? Oh, yes. Would you take this? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a lucky charm. I little early that I made once. Hurley? Looks more like a Harley to me. Ha ha! Waka waka! If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Early's ears as hard as you possibly can. What? Pull his ears? That's right, it's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. I'm sure this will never come up again. You think what we'll need what we'll need is luck? I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris? I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. Was Professor Mikotoba out all night too, do you think, Miss Usato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku too? That's what I just said, Ryunosuke! Do I need to throw you onto the ground again? That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. The answer for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Yes, thanks, Iris. And you, Mr. Reaper. I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. We must go inside now, Lord Van Zykes. Blah. Lord Van Zykes has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court, but not today. Today I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final, take a shot, reckoning. Strike a pose. It feels even more oppressive in here than it did yesterday. Their cold stares pierce me like knives from all sides today. Oh, god damn it! The gallery's gone racist too! Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look! Ah, god damn it! Male Strongheart! I don't know if this is going to be the thumbnail, but I think it's worth taking a picture of. Kazuma must have known beforehand. Oh, man, the Santa voice is a lot easier to do than Strongheart's voice. Hold on. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. Why do I feel like that I'm gonna have to prove a whole bunch of stuff completely irrelevant to Baruch Van Zyk's innocence in this murder? That's how this is gonna go down, isn't it? Well, I'm pissed. Let's keep going. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial. And one over which I, Male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. I'm setting the jurors' bench on fire. The 6 jurors' flames just... As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zykes. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. Low blow. Low blow! Oh damn! It's not even the static click! We're in for something new, boys. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. For the trial of Barak Van Zykes, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder in Barclay Prison, he abetted the convict's escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He is formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Oh, Chastian, thank you for the 36-month resub. 3 years! Woohoo! Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed 1 day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi. I met once again with a coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. But the official opinion of the investigation team, the FIT, was made clear yesterday. That the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it will give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes. Especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. Oh, god damn it! Can I go a session without having to voice Gina? Please, I don't like her accent. Stop typing Cockney accents into the text. Alright, hold on. I need to... Yeah, guess what cup I'm sipping out of. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting. Representative... Oh, God. Representative of Scotland Yard. A self-conferred rank, but never mind. Gina, again? My thoughts exactly. What's your problem, Odo? What's with that Gina again? Look, eh? Ugh. The boss meant the world to me. He done more for me than anyone else ever did. Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean? He got me out of the back slums of East End and took me under his wing. Taught me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm in the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gina. Take an English class. Right, all out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes, no. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face. What Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade. Let's hear exactly what it says in that report. Coming right up, sir. Witness testimony. The victim's movements. All your detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meanings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into something smuggled goods dealing that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't in on it yet. What matters most is there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too. Smuggled goods? I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what's written in the book. Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. The spices are one thing that pass through and nobody touches. It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets? It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place at this time? In a particular room of certain exclusive London in a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentlemen's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. That can't be. I haven't heard anything about any of this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Barak van Zykes, was present. That would be a very significant testimony, then. Oh my, but... Lord Van Zykes has made no mention of this at all. In short, Lord Van Zykes has had ample opportunity to murder the victim. Very well, then. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. Yeah, I don't care about Scotland Yard procedure. Uh-huh. Maybe. What are the other two statements? Okay, so statement 5 is also something I want to press, but let's start with this one. Because you actually bring up this book that probably should be entered into evidence.
Hold it!
Do you have any idea where the dealings were taking place? Yep! It was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. I want to go check it out later. That won't be necessary. What? It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name of these proceedings. I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. Well, I could, too. I got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't show you what I do. Go on. What's the arm? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? Oh yeah, no, insist. Show me you can read, Gina. I'm so proud of you. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord, the prosecution has no objection. Duh. Kazuma. There is no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Alright then! I get to show off me reading skills! Apparently the Smuggle Guild's deal is gonna happen at the gentleman's club called the Grouse. Oh, whoa. Okay, can we get more information about that? The Grouse? What sort of club is that? I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I am kinda curious. They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted. Have you looked in the mirror recently? I tell you what, me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover. Could you, though? I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was there. I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings were going to take place, is it? Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what the lower-ranking detectives at the y'all reckon. Says the even lower-ranking detective. Looks like it was a big job and all, and Okay, I wanted to press this too. Lord Van Zykes was at the club? Imagine that's the start of a dance. All you vampires at the club say hey! He was! Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members have reported having seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. It looks like there's no disputing that he was there then. Well, we know that Lord Van Zykes was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps we already discovered the Inspector's secret notebook. Which led into the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably, then, there are also eyewitnesses who can testify that Gregson was there. None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club. Oh, why aren't you asking Inspector Lestrade, eh? So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, though, is she? I really don't know what to make of all this. Lord Van Zykes told us he was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident. I don't think Lord Van Zykes could have been lying to us, do you? That's not the only way to explain this. Oh! If everything Lord Van Zykes has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we've yet to uncover? Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. Alright, I was hoping there would be something that would mention, like, the grouse and evidence. Okay, that doesn't... Can't flip that over. Oh, we haven't yet inspected this at all. I'll come back to you in a sec. Rip its ears off, I'm already stuck. What a charming little rabbity version of Mr. Sholmes. Do you suppose this is how Iris sees him? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Your eyes are veritably boring into the poor doll's ears. Oh, sorry, I was just wondering. What do you suppose would happen if I were to just tug at its ears with all my might right now? I'm sure that we'll find out when the time is right. To become a proper gentleman, you really must learn stoic patience. But I want to know! Okay, so it's not going to let me rip the ears off. Got it. So let's look at the trunk. Can we open it? Let's have a look inside. That was easy. Look, there's something inside. There's a lot of somethings inside. Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go a trip abroad then? Perhaps the day of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh! What is it? It was for travel on the 31st of October, just one day before the incident. What? Really? Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered. Well, that's not helpful. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not helpful. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. Is that something kind of crammed into the side there? Look at this dark stain here, do you think? Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood. Okay, keep this away from Van Zykes. Oh, I knew you were going to say that, so that presumably means This was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion, yes. To think Gina's been carrying this around with her. You didn't know any better. I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. You see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk here. It's glinting. Looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. But it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it. Well, don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. So I've already looked at the paper. That's it for this. Permission for the applicant and one additional person. One additional person. That'll be important for later. So the only thing with any additional detail right now is this. Oh, wait! Go back! I just saw a G. Now, Governor Caden. Wait, have I even examined this? No, I haven't. Oh, it looks like this is some sort of steamship ticket. The SS Grouse. There we go. We got it. We eventually got there. Yokohama departure, 11th of September. London arrival, 1st of November. Oh, that's the boat that Professor Mikotoba and Judge Shigoku came from on Japan, isn't it? Yes, I think it's called at Dunkirk on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving in Dover. I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in Dover on the SS Beria. It seems a shame not to keep your ticket as memento of your trip, don't you think? So that, okay, this makes sense now. The Grouse... You can say the Grouse was a steamship with this, and then you can point to the passport to say he was traveling. So what the fuck? Ugh. Yes, I agree. I have mine safely in my diary. I keep mine in my wallet, so I have it with me at all times. Oh, well, how strange. Where could have it gone? Are you like this on purpose, Mr. Naruhodo? Can I imagine it? Or was that comment accompanied by a little sigh? Ha! Okay, so now I know what to do. Present. Not here. Go... Yeah, now... Present the ticket.
Objection!
I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. And sometimes orgies. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? He's gone native. Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening on a club called at a club called the Grouse? Or the Grouse? I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's gonna be Grouse now. The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have the evidence to prove it. Here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for passage on a steamship, yes. The SS Grouse.
Objection!
So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on 1st of November. The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging. The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Then show your evidence for that assertion. Very well. Man, I think you're like sticking a hole in the platform for the gavel every time you do that. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. That would be this passport!
Take that!
What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim. Dated 31st October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. Gah! Order. This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived in Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board, at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? Ha 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 ha! I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? Why are you keeping exculpatory evidence from the defense, you son of a bitch? The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations, and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? The courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception. Let me guess, this was your intent from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. Strider Darkcore, thank you for the raid. In fact, you know what? Let's have a little dance party while I go to the bathroom. We'll dance, exercise, stand up for a sec. Dance party. Alright, I hope everyone enjoyed trying to dance to that, because that was a pretty slow song. Anyway, well, let's go. The Reaper? Meanwhile, Gina's there like, oi, oi. Order, order. What on earth are you saying, Counsel? The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all, but he was in fact acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Barak Van Zykes never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson? What do y'all think you're saying, eh? My boss would never do nothing like that! And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense. No, it can't be! We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zykes. Now the true Reaper is somebody else. Barak Van Zykes is not the Reaper. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh, you have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If somebody had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gino Lestrade. Eh? What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. It doesn't contain details of the secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying! Even if all them bludgers what got taken out had it coming. The boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but you've spent any... But if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors. I ain't heard nothing. I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe a word of the nothing I heard. Then testify again as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. Oh, I don't... I concur. The witness will give new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook. Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got up to in the past 10 years. names of victims, dates and places and stuff, and the last entry was the 31st of October. Said grouse for the place and date on that date, and then the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all. Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here. This must be so hard for her. You can't deny it now, surely. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What can't I deny? I'll deny it. The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper. Ah! So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on 31st October. Eh? Oh, how do you read this then? Reading's still not her strong suit. That ain't the problem, alright, Otto. It's a funny name. It ain't English. Hard to read. So it's someone from overseas? Let me have a bash at it. Se-ish-ro. Se-ish-I-ro. Is that it? Yeah, Se-shiro. Jig. Okay, you. Maybe? What? It can't be. Sashiro Jigoku? But that's Judge Jigoku. Sashiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right. But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for a fact the man hasn't been assassinated. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the Inspector. Personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused. Barak van Zykes! It's an undeniably logical argument. Is it? Is it really? Cosma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it!
I've pushed Lestrade to the side! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice, for thus I stand accused of murder. Lord Van Zykes! The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective. Eh? What? No, that's right, I ain't. I'm an inspector. Repeating rumors heard around the yard. You're reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony, it's practically a script. No doubt the rest of the trial will go exactly as you clearly planned. Lord Archive, thank you for the 37 months. Enjoy Barrack's theme. For the last time? Probably not. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I'm the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself, by attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance. My lord, the defense requests the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. Oh, that's so judgmental. Look at that. Hold on. This is another potential screen cap right here. Why is Kane a unicorn? I would imagine it's somewhat related to the royal seal having both a unicorn and a red lion on it. Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Then allow me to toss the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. At once, my lord. Now, see, that's interesting. Jigoku got in the hot box when he was trying to plead the case for Genshin Asogi. But the fact that he was called a criminal in the book is interesting. What was the last statement? Oh. Let's start with number 4 then.
Hold it!
What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, crap. Forgot 2 people here now. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course, you're right. Blah 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 blah. Shishiro humping Gilshin, which I just talked about, but in less words. Blah 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 blah. Broke the witness stand. He did some property damage. Contemptuous words with the British Empire. Blah 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 blah. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it! Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule? That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd! To take someone's life for that? Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd, killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane man's comprehension. But... oh, well, there's nothing left to do. I'll press this one, too.
Hold it!
So you have complete faith that Inspector Gregson is innocent in all this? Of course I do! I mean, I owe him that, don't I? Because he's the only one who had faith in me. Gina. The boss promised me he did. He promised me that even though I was just a diver, he could return to me a top-notch detective. A cove got dipped in a chip. Oh my god. A cove with a good heart like that ain't gonna go and rob people of their futures, is he? Hate this. Hate it. Every single person killed by the Reaper was a criminal of the First Order. The First Order? Oh no! Lowlifes like that have no compunction about robbing hundreds of others of their futures. Eh? The ludicrous acquittals in court give them the freedom to make hundreds more suffer. I don't. So what? You justified your actions because you were protecting innocent people's futures? I'm not suggesting that the Reaper's methods are justified at all. But life isn't black and white. That's all I'm saying. So that's what we have to work with. It may help us that Lord Van Sykes is in the stand too. Yes, perhaps. I'm sure Gina knows nothing she hasn't already told us. There's no point trying to get more out of her. Did you notice how Kazuma-sama reacted to Lord Van Sykes' words? When he called him an even more sinister Reaper, you mean? Well, I'm sure Kazuma intends to eliminate any shred of doubt that the man is guilty. He's looking for revenge against the person he considers to be his father's killer, after all. I do worry that if we fail to find a discrepancy in this testimony somewhere, the trial may end and adjudication won't go in our favor. Let's listen carefully again to what everybody's saying. No, so I have to, fine, I guess we'll just start with pressing everything. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you and all! That ain't the only explanation, is it? Nah. He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret in that notebook what said what I found out. If I may. Then originally people began referring to me as the Reaper. I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization. With you at its head? I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse? Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate, alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. How did Gregson get to the ship before it docked in Britain? Did he just take another ship? I guess that's reasonable, but I'm just imagining Gregson swimming from Dover to Dunkirk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh, no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Hold it!
Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff? What in particular? Well, besides victims' names, this other name kept cropping up. Ah. What other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again. You mean... assassin? Yeah, that's the one. She a friend of yours, Summit, is she? Were you even listening yesterday? Assassin. The assassin! What? Like a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable, and who to use to get them. Or the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Ah, then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been... Clearly the assassin, who was meant to take Sashiro Jigoku's life. Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry that said Grouse and Jashiro Jigoku? What name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. What? It just added like a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Rexium himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating. A nameless assassin? Alright. And you're saying that the mark listed was Shishiro Jigoku? That's what I said! Funny name, if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku was the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicial. That was funny. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago. Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was just Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his reparation was organized immediately. Or repatriation was organized immediately. And his reparation for breaking the damn witness stand. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible. The mood has gone even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. Oh, wait, no, I guess she gave up on that. Right, I've enough of this! Gina? All this nonsense about the boss's plan to kill people. It's cobblers! Come on, Otto! Yes? Why you ain't saying nothing? Well, why ain't you yelling out objection or something? What? You gotta find a flaw. You do usually. Someone lying here, no question. You gotta work it out who it is. Please, for the boss. Get this crying girl off of my witness stand. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I have with the lot of you. It's lies. Every bleeding place you look in the world, isn't it? Well, I've had enough. Gina. So have I. After the little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. I'm gonna shoot Kazuma! To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean? I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Now she changed her last statement. Let's find out. I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Every single time. The wheel's more convenient, but when there's multiple ones, I have to flip through them. What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... No. I haven't really said much. No. Well, you're dead. Jeez, hold on. I need a textual history here. I can't remember what all these people are saying. It's too much! And I've run out of history. F it. It's either him or frickin' Male Strongheart, so you.
Take that!
By you, Kazuma Asogi. Me? Is this some attempt at filibustering, Counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, Counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said? Oh, me. I have a guess here, but it's a really big effing stretch. I think this gash here on the trunk, the metal shard we found, links back to his sword. Because why else would it have been brought up? F it. I have 5 chances. Let's find out.
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain. A relatively fresh one, too. What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips? Fresh blood. Blood on the Inspector's trunk. This suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in the Scotland Yard report. In the Scotland Yard, Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after Inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it! Me! With me nose for trouble! Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Blah 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 blah. Ah, we did not... We only mentioned the passport, not the fact that there wasn't a... Okay, yep, nope. I was thinking about this for metatextual reasons. What fun. So the question is, how did you know about the Inspector's trunk? We know the man went on trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection!
in his massive coat. But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Cosma. On 31st of October, where exactly were you? You cheeky bitch. At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma, what did you... I'd considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it could only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Ha 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 ha! Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. Which can be witness testimony, but the game, you know, kind of throws it out the window. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Why would you know that? Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it, beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were there that day, in the same place as the inspector? He was there, with Gregson? There's a clue that you overlooked, a secret that the trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson? Alright guys, let's see. Can I click it from here? Yeah. This. Right here. Right here. Okay, now, yeah, so I have to open it. Got it. Yeah, come on. I got it. Yeah, open the trunk right here. Open it. Yeah, the button then.
Got it!
There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. A blade? A blade? Cosma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk. That won't be necessary. Oh no! The tip is broken. That may be a great thumbnail out of context. I'm not sure yet. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asogi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you and well deserved. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi? Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from the notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Shigoku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it? We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Shigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded the train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the Channel into Dunkirk. We then boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Shigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. Not directly, anyway. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in town, and returned to England the following morning. A boarding house in Dunkirk? My signature will be in the register book. It will be simple enough to verify. Then what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in the room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. How did your sword end up in the chest? You skipped it. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. Ballsy, Kazuma, ballsy. You can't convict me if I don't say why. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. We must take immediate action now to verify whether Sashiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zykes? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. My office! If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not Judge Shigoku! Okay, so actually this was brought up, and I haven't had a little lawyer segment in this stream yet. So let's take a small pause because we seem to be reaching a to be continued soon. Discount GM asking, but is he obligated to? Referring to Kazuma choosing to remain silent when it comes to his blade. He's implicated himself in the trial. All the circumstances around Inspector Gregson are relevant to the case, especially when the defense has already proposed that he died at a different time, at a different place, in a different manner. Him choosing to remain silent is actually just the tip of the iceberg, because now he's directly implicated. He can't prosecute this case anymore. If this was, a place where the law mattered. It doesn't. Drama first. So really, we've already hit the point where I just throw up my hands and go mistrial. So yeah, the fact that he's choosing not to speak here is actually kind of... It's interesting because he's skipping to the point where he would actually be a person accused of murdering Gregson. At which point, if he was the defendant, he would have the right to remain silent, or at least not be a witness against himself. So at this point in time, him choosing to remain silent is not a right he would have. But if he were to be a defendant, he would. And then you'd have to kind of just go, well, his sword was found in the trunk. Gregson's blood is on the trunk. Put two and two together. There's enough. It's not... A jury may still say that there's still reasonable doubt, but there's already evidence there that he killed Gregson. But this is more fun than just throwing up your hands and declaring a mistrial. Anyway, that's your small lawyering tidbit of the stream. I've done my due diligence. No one will want to kill a harmless Japanese man who only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord? I sincerely hope we are successful. If we are unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Ah! The court is adjourned for 30 minutes. But no one would have any reason to kill a harmless Japanese man. Except, any sort of pickpocket that got implicated in a violent tussle. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Shigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careening towards... Wait a minute. Isn't it supposed to be careening? This is careering. I guess careering is still the proper verb. Towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might have only 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. Let's rip that head off! Rip it off! Rip it off! Rip it off! Rip it off! Get past the pack! Get past the flashback! Get past the flashback! Get past the flashback! Rip it off! Oh yeah, no, pull it. Would you even give me the option to not? I doubt it. Here it goes then, I'm going to do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Meow! That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here! Iris turned me into a doll! It's the felt doll talking! Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can! Alright, then I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off! Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left Dover last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my leg prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean you already worked it out? The steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Sherlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. I say without any hint of sarcasm. Recited to perfection, well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow! Miss Susato, gently with the genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikatoba. You may remember that I was in fact the I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday, when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. Ha 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 ha! But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions under my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We just entered recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads then, I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within half an hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow! 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 I shan't be hearing anything. Keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea of making a receiver operated that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris' invention, not mine. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now before the Grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikatoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin! First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. A crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Thinkin' Stroganoff when you see? Great detective. Ha! I don't 6'4". Do you see that, Mikatoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo? That says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering, actually, that does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now! How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by my name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikatoba. I'm sure wait a minute, did he actually say that, or was that... No, that was Tichkin. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name aboard. But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Oh, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. He was Dunkirk. He said something about the emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Shishiro's realized that we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. No! I have ordered not to let even mouse inside. Mikatoba, be a good man and draw this sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse as though he leaves the area. Doesn't good detective see? Even sailors have ears, both left and right. Fuck! Curses! This plan is ruined! And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I'm not here, you cannot get inside. Mikatoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typical accommodating manner. How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man! So, the game is afoot! Huh. I'm wondering, so we haven't hit a to be continued, but now apparently we're in a whole investigative phase, and actually I have no idea how long it's going to take. So, we're almost at the 2 hour mark. I think we've had somewhat of a clean break here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and save it and have us carry on with this next time. Oh yeah, this would be the second time we're not Ryunosuke. Remember episode 1, everybody. Anyway, let's see. Who can I send you guys off to in the meantime? I think Nick is streaming Mad Max again? He is. Well, let's go ahead and keep with tradition, shall we? So I will see you guys soon. I'm not sure how Friday's panning out. But at the very least, if you don't see me tomorrow, or hear me tomorrow, you'll hear me next week for some more exciting adventures in Ace Attorney Land and elsewhere. And I forgot to hit enter on that raid thing. There we go. Hope everyone stays safe, and if you don't hear from me soon, I hope everyone has a safe weekend. Toodles!